everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Grace, and we are with Let's Talk Real for Real. So, as you know, as you watched the very first episode, talked a little bit about your gut and talked about how that affects you. Go back and watch that. It's awesome, by the way. But we talk about everything. That's why it's called Let's Talk Real. But we talk about everything. Today's subject matter is anxiety. But before we get started, and before I introduce this very handsome young man that's sitting beside me, I just want to say to you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for clicking on that button to hear God's word. And the reason why I say that is because this is not our platform. This is God's platform. Okay? This is His platform. It's His word. It's His to do whatever He wants with it. So thank you for being with us today. Another thing is that this is never scripted. We don't edit. These lights that are shining are bright, and it is for real, y'all. Okay? I can't put my sunshades on, but it is for real. Anyway, it's never edited. Everything you hear, even if you may hear a noise and go, what was that? Yep, it might have been one of those. You never know. Yes, I went there. I said that, okay? Because it's for real. So, I also want to give, before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the Austin College in Sherman Lady Volleyball Roos. Okay, go Roos. All right, just want to get a shout out to y'all. So we love y'all. We're so proud of you. So today's topic is about anxiety. And this young man is Philip. I am just adore this young man. I've known him for a long time, and he is just such a blessing and a joy. I know in my life, he does a lot of, he does our, he's an amazing, or as Melby would say, watch us happen. It's amazing. Anyway, I know that was a terrible Melby. Sorry, Melby. But anyway, so we're going to get started on our topic for today. Our topic for today is anxiety. Now, I do want you to know that there is a difference between anxiety and depression. However, this is a big deal. However, even though they're completely separate and they're different, they seem to like each other. They seem to be friends. They seem to be like best friends. They seem to like, oh, come here, girlfriend, get over here. You know, so it's stuff like that. So what I really wanted to do today, what we wanted to do, most of the time we talk about anxiety, we're talking about, to women and what it's like for them. Wanted to do a little reverse on that. So what's it like for a young man to have anxiety, to go through the things that they go through in today's society? So first of all, you have to name it. You have to call it for what it is, and it's called anxiety. And with that comes depression, and Philip is going to go a little bit more into that. And as I told y'all before, if you saw the very first one, you know that I am not a note taker. I am a talker, believe it or not. And Philip already knows that.
Oh, I didn't know.
So I'm an extrovert. Phil can definitely testify to that. But so I just make little notes. See, I scribble. So these are my scribbles.
While it's not scripted, it has to be structured.
It has to be structured.
Yeah.
And so, and I apologize in advance, y'all. I'm not crying, but my eye is watering like crazy, and I don't know why. So if I'm going like this and you think I'm winking at you, okay, we'll just go with it. Okay, so Philip, tell us, and by the way, when you clicked on that button, yeah, your family, you became part of our family. This is a family. Let's Talk Real for Real is a family. We are a family. We are one, okay? So just know that you are loved, you are adored, and you are blessed. All right. So Philip, I know you and I have talked several times about anxiety, and so tell us a little bit. I know that there are a lot of external factors for you that come into play with your anxiety. So kind of go into that for us.
Well, so I guess I'll nail it down to situational and out of, I guess you could say, not in control, if you're not in control. I first experienced it back in like grade school. Our school used to go to what we call conventions, and it was a week long. You went far away. Of course, Dallas is not
Like
far
what
now.
age in grade school? Like fifth, sixth? What?
Yeah,
A little bit.
about started there, and so we go to a camp. That's what it is. It's really camp, and it's like an overnight week camp. And I'd be perfectly fine in the daytime. We'd get there, arrive, set up our bunk and everything. But when nighttime came, it's like I couldn't sleep, and I get restless, I get nervous.
Anxiety.
Yeah, anxiety. And so I guess that's about when it started. And that's where it is. Like, even when I got older, if I go, say, to Dallas, and if you go over to my channel and you'll see I go to Dallas a lot. I used to be, like, I'd go to Six Flags and stuff and it'd be perfectly fine, and then out of nowhere, like, I'm standing in line or something, and it would just hit me like a freight train. And it's...
What would hit you? What would hit you like a freight train? The not being in control?
No, the not being in control actually starts before we leave for Dallas, because like sometimes, most of the time we go in my car just because I invited them.
But you're in control if you're driving your car, right?
Yeah, right. And then so my friends would be like, hey, let's just go in my vehicle. That way they don't have to pay gas, and I pay them gas. You know, just switches.
Yeah.
And a normal person would be like, cool, man, let's just drive in your car. But inside of me would be like, no. Because if something happens, or I feel this anxiety come on, I can't be like, hey guys, let's just head out. I'm not feeling well, let's just go. Because then they'll be like, oh, okay, since they're in my car. But if it was them, they brought it, they'd be like, no, we want to stay, it's our vehicle, you can just go to the car or something.
And that would probably make you have even more anxiety. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And out of control.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm not a control freak, but I don't know, that's what triggers it a lot. So I would avoid that. And so I don't know if you want to.
Let me ask you this question, okay? Now you shared that. Let me ask you this question. So we're not in your skin. Okay? We're not Philip.
No.
Each of us are different. Anxiety is different for everyone, and I think there's a lot of times where anxiety is, everything is, as the saying is, as it does say, in the Bible, Jesus tells us there's a season for everything, and everything has a season. So sometimes a season of anxiety, maybe, I'll just use this as an example. As a pregnant woman is having a baby, she's anxious, she's got anxiety, but then after that baby comes, the anxiety's gone. That's just short season anxiety. So then some people have anxiety that's for, during school test time, stuff like that. And other people have anxiety for a lifetime. So take us, your family, okay? Take us into Philip. Take us into bring out what anxiety looks like for you.
Okay. And to get kind of a description that's described as something else so people can understand before I get into like what triggers it for me and stuff like that, there's a song that in the Maddie Mullins from Memphis Mayfire.
Maddie Mullins?
Maddie Mullins.
Maddie Mullins.
from Memphis, Mayfire. It's a Christian like heavy metal band. I guess I don't know what
He
they
likes
call
heavy
it. Yes, look them up. You won't regret
Go
it.
Skillet. Okay,
Yes,
wait.
look
Go
at
Skillet.
that. Anyway,
Let's go Skillet.
okay, so I connected with the song, and at first when I listened to it, I didn't know what it was about, but I knew it connected with me. It's called "Sleepless Nights." And
I had not heard it, so go ahead.
yeah, and he did like an interview, kind of like what we're doing now, about the song, and it hit home because I knew it hit home, but I didn't know why. And he was talking about his anxiety and what he went through when he was on the road, and you know, stuff like that, and how it just hits you and stuff. So I'm gonna like quickly run through the song just as the lyrics,
Go ahead.
and it will open some people's eyes, because some people, before I struggled with this, I didn't understand what I was going through. I didn't nail it down to anxiety.
You didn't name it?
Yeah, I couldn't. Before I could name what it was, when people said anxiety, I was like, I didn't understand when they were saying how panicked it is and stuff. So this kind of puts it in perspective. So it starts out, I stare deep down into the eyes of my nightmares as they come to life. I feel my heart beat right out of my chest, and I think I might be losing the fight. And then it says I might be losing it. I live inside my poisoned mind. It leaves me paralyzed. My vision's blurred and my words are slurred. I think I might die tonight. That's how it feels. Like some people that don't understand or have never felt anxiety, in the moment, in the epicenter of the storm, you feel like you're gonna die. Like tons and tons of times I've had to, and I was thinking of another incident. I literally had to call the EMTs because it was that bad. And I almost had to miss, because me and my friends we were going to go see a popular YouTuber. I wouldn't name him because he's not very appropriate, but we were going to go see him, and I almost missed it because of this. So, let's see. The shadow follows me, it always keeps me on the edge. I know I'd never jump, so why can't I step back from this ledge? I think I'm losing control. Now it might sound like suicide, but it's not. That's just how you feel. Like it's always following you. You can never get away from it.
It's like this darkness that's just hovering over you all the time.
And it keeps you, and I'll elaborate a little later, it keeps me from doing things that normal people should be able to do.
Seems like it kind of keeps you suffocated.
Yeah.
Would that be a good
suffocated
term for it? Yeah, like suffocated.
So you take me, when he says you was talking about anxiety, you take me to the darkest places I've ever been. I feel it coming back again. Every time you suppress it, it seems like, you go a little while and then it comes back, just out of nowhere. I mean, it never says, hey, I'm gonna come today, anxiety's gonna be here today. You never know when it happens.
So do you have anxiety about having anxiety?
No.
Oh my gosh, is it gonna happen today? Am I gonna have, because there's a lot of people, and the reason why I'm asking Philip this is because there is a young lady that writes to me a lot, and she has anxiety over whether, when she wakes up in the morning, am I going to have anxiety attack today? So she's got anxiety about having anxiety, and so that's for her.
Yeah, yes and no. It always keeps me, before I found my hero, we'll talk about that here in a second, don't want to give it away just yet.
Not yet.
I wasn't having anxiety about anxiety, but I always planned my day around anxiety. And that was the suffocating thing. You should be able to plan your day without having to go around this and avoid this, because if I do this and this and this, I might have anxiety. So that's what was getting kind of frustrating and suffocating.
Right. That seems exhausting though.
It is.
I mean, it just,
I
don't know another word except exhausting. Yeah.
So, and then it says, why am I terrified of everything I used to love? Save me from myself, I don't want to hate who I've become. And then it goes into inhale, exhale. This is one of the physical things that people with anxiety do. And and I've used it, and I've used like the Apple Watch breathe app, breathing,
Yeah.
concentrating on breathing. So before I found again my hero, I would only turn to physical things. So it's like, okay, I gotta focus on my breathing when it starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he's talking about right here. He's saying, inhale, exhale. Why is it so hard to breathe? When you have a panic attack with anxiety, literally it feels like a ton of bricks or an elephant is sitting on your chest.
I've heard people describe it as they feel like they're literally having a heart attack.
Yes, that's why one time, like I said, I had to call the EMTs because I couldn't distinguish, like, am I having a panic attack or a heart attack? And I didn't want to just push it off, and it might be something.
Right.
So, so that's what he was saying. And why is it so hard to breathe? Inhale, exhale. Why isn't this working? Like, sometimes it won't stop it. If I have to live to see the other side of this, I will never take for granted any happiness. And you go through this like mindset of, if you're talking about, talking to God, because that's who I talk to, we get this in your mind like, oh, if you do this, just get me through this,
Mm-hmm.
I will do that. But we just get in that little headspace. That was just a sidetrack. Saving for myself. I don't want to live. I don't want to hate who I've become. Tell me that tomorrow when I wake up, I'll be fine. Every day I go to bed, or used to go to bed, thinking after I've had one of those episodes, okay, when I wake up tomorrow, I just hope that I don't ever have to deal with this again. I never want to go through it again.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be myself again. I want to know that I'm alive.
Those are powerful words.
Oh yeah, and it says, tell me, is there something that I'm learning from this? He's talking to God here, too. Tell me, is there something that I'm learning from this? I'm trying my best to make the most of it. Maybe I just need to see the bigger picture. Show me how it ends. That's when you get to that point of, you're just like, when am I ever going to get over this? Like, it just seems like a tunnel you can't see the light out of.
Yeah.
Show me how it ends. Okay, let's see. If I have to feel this forever, I'd rather feel nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
Bring me back to life. I just can't take another sleepless night. And that goes back to when I was younger, and it hits at night. Every time I go to sleep when I'm off on a school trip or at a friend's house, something, like I'll be fine, like I said, and then at night I just can't sleep, I get restless, and we'll go into some how it actually feels in my mind space here in a second. Just another sleepless night. Bring me back to life. Give me the clarity to see the light. Because when you're in an anxiety attack, it's hard to think. It's hard to focus. You're just panicking. And
imagine because your mind, because we all have that fight or flight. I know you've heard about that before,
it is,
but it seems like maybe you're always in the fight mode or flight mode, or both. I guess both. Because you're trying to rationalize it, and then
I'm trying to fight to get over it so I don't have to leave.
Exactly.
And then
exactly.
So that's very true. Let's see. It's almost over. Let's see. Okay, right here. Give me the clarity to see the light. And he's talking to God again. And I've had this narrative with God a lot. I know that you can take this away, so I pray that today is the day. Oh, I pray that today is the day. Bring me back to life. Because when you struggle with this and you have it in the back of your mind, every time I go somewhere, I have it in the back of my mind. You never feel free. You can go do anything.
You
feel trapped, suffocated. So that's what he's meaning by bring me back to life, to where you don't have to worry about it. Why am I terrified of everything I used to love? Saving for myself, I don't want to hate who I've become. And then it says, at the end of it, he says, please give me peace, give me joy, give me sanity, give me hope, give me love, give me truth.
Wow.
That's how he ends the song. So that was kind of from two different types of people, kind of how we struggle and stuff with it. And then we can later on, I'll tell you how I personally, what I feel and what I have to do, what I thought I had to do to get rid of it.
So that song, when you very first heard that song, I bet you just went, what? What did he just say? Like, and
Yeah.
I bet you played it like, did you play it like over and over and over because it's like, oh my gosh, there's somebody. Look, y'all, I just want to say this. I just want to say this to our audience family, okay? That you are not an island.
You're not alone.
Okay, you're not alone. You are not alone. And there's so many people that care about you. We care about you. That's one of the reasons why we started Let's Talk Real for Real, because there's, it seems like today everything is just so sugar coated. We don't get down to the real problem. We put band-aids on it. There's no band-aid, y'all, for this. There's not a band-aid. It's something that you have to walk through every day, every moment, every second, and it's different for everybody. And I know there's the young lady that I was talking about earlier. She's in college, and it's kind of the same. It's actually the same for her, but yet she's a female, so there's different things that she deals with. Mm-hmm. And that's why I felt it was so important to talk, to show you on a male's point of view, what it's like. So,
and before just
go ahead.
Let me,
go ahead.
When it comes to, because I've been on YouTube for a long time, and when I struggled with an issue, or, I felt alone on something, I don't have people here to talk to besides my mom, but some things you don't want to talk about, with your parents or your mom.
You just don't want to talk about something to your parents. Didn't mean to steal your thunder,
right.
But that was true. That was true. You're like,
I always turned to, for my generation, the generations after me and a little bit above me, we are in a different generation. We don't always have someone to turn to, so we turn to the internet. And YouTube has been like a big, when you can relate to something, my generation has to relate to something. That's why these songs we relate to. That's why when it was him, he was a guy, he was out, he felt the same way I did. And I always felt like, because there's nobody around me, because in real life, we're not going to open up to each other. Like, even if me and my friend who was at Six Flags were having the same panic attack at the same time, we're not going to tell each other.
Right.
But somebody on the internet is sitting alone with a camera can open up, and so I can connect with
it's an outlet,
someone else on the internet, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Right.
And that's it's kind of therapeutic too, because that's what you do with a shrink or a therapist,
a psychologist.
Yeah.
So here's one thing that I want to share with you that you just brought this to my mind when you were saying that, and that is the aloneness that you feel because society today is like, oh my gosh, we label things as this thing is a good thing, oh that's a bad thing, it's oh my gosh, really, you have anxiety? Well, what's wrong with you? And I have actually had people that have told me that have had, that have anxiety. They've actually had people that in their lives that have said, well, just deal with it. Why can't you just deal with it? Well, you don't say that to somebody. That, number one, that's hurtful because you don't know what they're going through. And then the other thing is, they're not going to want to share that. Why would you want to share that when, society really looks down on that? Like, well, what's wrong with you? So you wouldn't want to share that. So I just, before we go into anything else, I want to, I'm going to get a little teary-eyed. I just want to say thank you for having, it's such a blessing to have you to share this with us, to share this, what you go through, and so now, I'm a woman, so I don't want to mess up my makeup. So we're going to go into, how I am. I'm goofy.
Right.
I'm goofy, y'all, but it's okay. I'm a good kind of nut. All right, so.
Let me just do one little sidetrack.
So you go ahead.
15, 20 seconds, okay.
Take it away.
This for our generation, I've been thinking about also looking at the church and stuff too. I've been really thinking about ministry and outreach, how to reach.
What do you mean about living at the church? Explain
No,
to our
I mean
audience.
talking about the church, like people, church people, Christians like us. When you look at someone, and I didn't plan this, but when you dress in all black, we need to suppress and get rid of our judgmental spirit, because
Absolutely.
and I have a friend that every time I think about this, I think about her, and she's not here anymore, so it's really hard.
It's okay.
But she suffered so much, I guess, inside, and I don't know all what she went through. But people, and a lot of it was the church. I don't ever want to be like this. That's why I pray every day. Lord, give me your eyes. Even for people that, dressed in all black, the church is easily to say, everybody wants to say, what is wrong with you? We should
put you in a certain category.
Yeah, he's messed up, or he obviously has, problems, and they don't want to help the problem, they just want to point it out. And I always try to pray, Lord, give me your eyes, because that person, sometimes they do that because they want help. And there's so much suicide, especially with my generation, because nobody wants to take the time to look past that person who's on the outside. They're screaming for help. And we all just look at them and be like, oh, you're just a waste, or oh, he's just messed up, or so they resort to, since they're crying out for help and they're not getting the help from the people who are called to help them, they resort to cutting themselves, and the ultimate end that the enemy wants is them to kill themselves. And we are not put on this planet to judge.
That's not
I always want to look through with God's eyes and say, not you, what is wrong with that person, but what is going on with that person, and how can we help them out of it? Because I've struggled with different things. I've struggled with a bunch of different things that some people will never understand. And, when I was younger, I did act out some things and wore certain things because I needed help and wanted someone to
listen.
Cry out. Yeah, so I know that was a sidetrack. It's past my 15 seconds, and that's not a good topic, but
you're okay.
That's bonus material for our family.
You're okay.
That's been my biggest ministry. God's working on me on that, to help others and look past what they are, because that's usually a sign of, hey, I need help. And we
tend to say, oh, well, I'm not as bad as they are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, they have it way worse than I do, or I'm not as bad as that person is. When and just like what you said just a minute ago, who are we to judge? We're not. That's not our calling. We're called to hold one another accountable,
mm-hmm.
To the Lord and to our beliefs. Yet that's not our person. That's not our place to judge that person, because we don't know, y'all. We don't know what somebody else is going through. That's why one of the big reasons why we started Let's Talk Real for Real, because this is real. This is as real as it gets. There's no editing of this. There's nothing. We're not changing anything about this at all.
Right.
So I want to go ahead and go into your coping skills. I guess the biggest question that I have for you is, how do you realize the lie? Because it truly is a lie, and by that, what I'm saying is that the negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't go here. If I go there, am I going to have this? Is this going to happen? So how do you, Philip, and how can you share with our family, how do you and how can they recognize the lie, and what do you do to combat that, to counteract that?
Okay, so I have this perfect thing. It happened a couple of weekends ago. It was one of the recent, I guess you could call it episodes, but and this time it was a little bit different. It played out a little different. So I'm going to play it from the beginning and go to the end, and you'll see, and I'll elaborate on the end what I did to cope and get over, conquer it. Okay, so we were at
Conquer that lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went to Six Flags, me and a friend. We're having a good time. We just got there. We rode a couple rides, and so we get to the Texas Giant, and it has a longer than usual line than we've been on. Usually we've just been getting on and off. And this is usually when it hits. It's either when I'm sitting not doing anything or eating. And that's another thing. Like, I would avoid eating out and starve myself because, like, it seemed like to come up to hit me when I was eating. So in my mind was like, okay, if I'm going anywhere besides my house or close by that I'm familiar with, I'm not gonna eat. I'm not gonna eat all day. Because I'll just have some water and I won't eat, because every time I try to eat, it hits me. And so I don't want it to happen, so I won't eat. So
So
kind of
that
turning.
became a trigger for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And but we didn't eat this time because we hadn't had time. Like I said, we just got there. And so we get in this longer than usual line. You know, it's a little bit longer than the others. And we're just standing there watching some Looney Tunes on the little TV they had.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, this is how it happens. Sometimes it happens as a thought, like, oh, it's coming. Sometimes it doesn't. And it's just like, I literally am like that. I usually look at the person I'm looking at. And one time I looked at my friend and he saw the terror in my eyes. He's like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, I guess it shows when it hits me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I started shaking a little bit and I feel really hot.
Mm-hmm.
My chest gets really tight.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart starts racing a little bit. And I have to get out. Like,
You feel trapped?
I feel trapped. Like, because it's a line. I'm just like, we were halfway into the line by now. I felt so bad for my friend. I explained, he was okay with it. But, you know, and that's when the not depression, but, you know, disappointment comes in. Because, like, he never rode the ride before and we had to leave the park.
So you felt like because of what you were going through, you disappointed him.
Yeah, but okay, so while I'm in the line, that all started happening. And so my brain says I have to find a way to get rid of this. So logically, I was in a line, it was hot, and I was trapped in the line. So what my brain said to do to get rid of it is get out of the line and find some air conditioning. So I tried to rationalize it physically, which I wasn't overheated or anything, but it rationalized like, okay, what do I have to do to get rid of this? And it just picked the closest logical thing. So I was like, so I turned to my friends like, hey man, I don't feel well, I need to get some air conditioning, it's hot outside. And so I did, and I did that. So at first, I kind of got a little bit depressed because I was like, I hadn't struggled with it in a long time, and it came up, and I let it win at first.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I let it happen again. Like, why would I do this? And but I said, no. I said, for God's not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, and if we have His power and love, and of a sound mind. Anxiety has no place if you have His power and love inside you. So while he went to the bathroom while I was waiting in the air conditioning, and I was thinking about this, and I said, no, you're not going to win. Even though we left, because we kind of, it was getting busy and there's more and more lines. But the devil wanted me to think that, oh, he won again. You know, ha ha ha, I ruined your day because you let the anxiety take over and you have to leave because you couldn't handle it.
And he's just laughing at you.
Yeah, and then so when I was feeling like that and he was trying to get me depressed, like, you know, you're going to always live with this. It's always going to ruin your life. That's when I pinpointed it.
And here comes your hero.
Yeah, and Jesus Christ. Yeah, I was like, you know what?
There you go.
I was like, I'm a child of God.
There you go.
I've prayed about this. He's taken anxiety away from me.
Yes.
And you have no power over me. And so I started thinking logically, what brought this on besides the spiritual aspect? And I was thinking back, I didn't get adequate sleep. I mean, I didn't not just not go to bed, but I did go to bed late. So I was tired, and it was kind of hot outside. So physically, my body might have started feeling, fatigue, and then the devil used that and said, "Oh, it's anxiety, not fatigue." And he used that, but it was the physical side. Didn't get much sleep, and I hadn't eaten much because we just weren't there long enough. But it took like 2.5 hours to drive there.
Right.
So I was hungry, and so it was kind of fatigue and hungry. So that's probably what was happening. It was
a combination of so many factors that just.
Yeah, it was physical factors. But the devil was like, "Hey, here's an opportunity to throw the anxiety back on you."
Right.
And so I saw that he did the anxiety, but I was like, no, this wasn't anxiety, because he tried to make it that way. This was physical, and because God took anxiety, the fear of anxiety, away. And so I conquered that after the fact. Like, we were leaving, we're going.
Right.
And I was thinking about it, like, you're not going to win.
Right.
Like, he thought he was going to win because we got out of the line and had to bypass what we were doing. But, so that's how I cope with it. I don't cope with it. I don't know how I want to say it.
You conquer it through Jesus?
Yeah, I conquered it. I conquer it through Jesus, because the devil always tries to throw it in your face once in a while. It's like, but I'm not struggling with it because of Jesus Christ. I've given it to him, and he's taken it away, and I claim that. So I can't be like, oh, well, I have anxiety again, or, well, I always struggle with it. I don't struggle with it. The devil just tries to throw it in my face to start it back up again. But I have to be, through Christ, I have to say, no. He's already taken it away.
It was this one, ready? So that's why I said, when do you recognize the lie? Because, as we, and y'all, we are not ashamed to talk about God.
Oh, no.
Okay? We are not ashamed to talk about Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And like on the last Let's Talk for Real, I said that we're going to talk about the Lord, and we're not ashamed of it. So
just real quick, if you want to know what I'm looking at us, because I'm making sure it's still recording, because I've done that. Like, the phone overheats, and I don't want anything to be missing. So
he's trying to make sure my hair still looks good.
I was making sure that the camera's still going.
He's got to fix that little. Okay, but we're good. But anyway, so so I want to, and we want to encourage you. Number one, to stop. Just stop. And just like my friend I was talking to last night, she was texting me. I was like, okay, first thing you do is stop and breathe. That's the first thing you do, is stop and breathe. And then the second thing, what I wrote to her was, ask yourself, what is this really that's happening right now? Name it. Call it for what it is. Call it out. Even if you have to call it out loud, call it out loud. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And to know that you are not an island. Okay? You are not an island. And to know that you are loved, that you are precious, you are adored.
And you are worth it.
And you are worthy and worth it. You are. So write us we want you to write us, please. So we're going to show you. Ready? Get your finger. Click
Down
that.
this
Yeah. Click that subscribe button. And also I found out that there's a little bell on there. Push that little bell. Ding, ding. So that lets us know, because we, like I said last time, we do have a crew. And that lets us know, hey, you know what? People have questions. Write to us about whatever. Be nice. Write to us about whatever you want. If it's anxiety, depression, if it's problems with weight, if you are just so excited, like you're like a little cocker spaniel, and you're like piddling all over the house, because cocker spaniels do that. So if you're just so excited you can't stand it, write to us about that. Write to us about whatever it is that you want to talk about, and we will bring those things up. I promise we will bring those things up on our forum. Mm-hmm. And we're so excited that you are part of the Let's Talk for Real family. Uh-huh. So I want to thank Philip. Thank you for your candor. Thank you for your honesty. And I want you guys to know this young man is such a blessing. God has sent this young man he and his sweet precious mama, shout out to Carrie, he and his sweet precious mama into my life. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being so real, so honest. And I pray that God has spoken to your heart today. Someone, one of you out there, this has spoken to your heart. Write to us, talk to us, tell us. We want to know, we want to hear. You are important. So, from myself and Philip, until the next time we see you, thank you for being real, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.